Iris.
Wow, it doesn't get any more epic than that for an intro for a podcast here. Welcome to Brian Campbell Experience. This is a podcast where two men get inside the box at the same time. Hey, how are you? Brian Campbell, the BCX guy right here. And you know that man, they call him Midwest Stash. He's a New York Times bestselling author. This man just loves the box so much. His name is Rafe Bartolome. Rafe, what do you think of the new, spectacular intro?
I respect intro. I guess it was. It surprised me. What's the motif you're going for, Brian? You can't hear nothing. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to do podcasts when you can't hear the guy that you're talking.
It is. So I guess I think that Brian's all right. We're good.
Well, yeah, but now Reggie came in. I got to close the door. So why don't you entertain the people?
In there. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm best at. Oh shit, am I alone here? Can't be doing this to me, man. I'm not that kind of guy. Shit. And we're revealing more of my back. We got my dead flowers back there. Some more tilted pictures. This is no good at all.
Well, way to hold it down right there. Hey, welcome to the box here. This is a big week for boxing because there's a lot of weird topics that we got to break down. A lot of fights that happened, a lot of fights that will happen. Rafe, in general, as a box fan, how are you this week?
Oh, the box fan in me is thriving, just all over the place. No, I don't know. I'm saying, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit, Brian.
Indeed. Reggie Jackson is healthy. I wanted you to know that. I see him here. Reggie, thank you very much for joining here. Peep the new poster behind me. Here we go. Rafe, what's new in Northeast Michigan?
You know that's not where I am, right?
Damn it, okay. We do have a show that's live. Go ahead. I got you now.
All right. You know that's not where I'm in Southeast Michigan, right?
I mean, are you though? I mean, like you're in the thumb, right?
No, I'm not considered the thumb quite yet. You need to get a little higher up to get into the thumb. And I don't even know. The thumb is its own thing. Northeast would be up north of Saginaw, you can't Charlevoix maybe. The thumb is its own thing.
Okay. Great to see you. Dave Sandine already chiming in, supporting our show right here. A little something for BC and Rafe to buy a little bit of that liquid Crayak. Yeah. Thank you, David. Thank you for the live joiners of this fantastic broadcast. And Rafe, it seems like you centered and maybe even untilted the fine picture.
It looks pretty crooked to me, man. I have not touched it since the first time. Is it your boy Lazy Bed that brings it up every time? I still have not touched it. See, there we go. Shout out to you. Yeah, I'll let you know when I get there, but I'm taking my sweet time.
Lazy Bed, apparently a star of Just Bleed Radio that they call JBR in these parts. So there you go, right there. Reggie just stepped on my. Yeah, I got technical issues here. We got Reggie. He's in the house. Rafe, you want to start off with the weekend that was? Because there's some pieces of interest that went down there.
What piece interests you the most?
I mean, of mild interest. Let's start in the UK when that pocket rocket at 126, Nick Ball defended his title against the 38-year-old dried husk southpaw body of TJ Doheny, Brian Kenny's favorite fighter, who is fresh off a noble effort in a ultimately one-sided loss to Naoya Inoue. Doheny needed to make weight 3 times to cut down to 122 or to 126, apparently after fighting at or what am I off here?
I think he did have trouble, have trouble at the weigh-in, but he usually fights at 122 pounds.
So this was him moving up in weight, and he still had trouble at the weigh-in. Interesting stuff. I finally caught up on the full fight and watched it. there's going to be a lot to say about the future for Nick Ball and whether Dev Sani's Twitter account of Queensberry Promotions is as over the top as necessary, already predicting that Ball would defeat the monster. But let's not go that far. Let's start first and foremost with your opinion of the controversy that ended round one, where that southpaw Doheny put Nick Ball into a headlock, and ultimately Ball would recoil with a kick to the back of the leg. No warning from the referee, no point deduction, just a 1980s NBA referee. Hey, I know that Parrish and Lambert just cut each other open with punches, but no harm, no foul. Play on, brother. In light of Steve Willis, Lamont Roach, and Gervonta Davis, where do you sit on that as Reggie tries to eat me during the show?
Well, that was not vintage NBA refereeing, Brian. That was what we all know to be just standard run-of-the-mill UK top bloke homer refereeing, which we've seen many times. It can, whether it's carrying Nathan Cleverly back to the corner, stretching out a count, all the sort of I guess, it was UK on UK crime what they did to George Groves in that first Carl Froch fight. But there is we're used to these sort of shenanigans on that side of the pond. And I guess with, even my man Steve Willis having a terrible night. You like my bonnet? Actually, that in the UK, that's the hood of a car, Brian.
Oh,
they call it a Royale with cheese.
Well, I've gotten to second base with a few bonnets in my time, just on American soil. Okay.
Bonnet rate.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was what it was. It seemed like UK homer refereeing to me. So yes, TJ. We got Brian Kenny in my head. I'm going to be thinking Doheny all day. But Doheny had Ball in that. He was digging in the guillotine choke a little bit there. He was taking liberties. However, we see that in boxing a lot. A little bit of roughhousing in the clinch. What we don't see, I don't think I've ever seen this one in boxing, is the turning around and kicking a guy in the back of the leg. After that there are ways to retaliate that are within the normal bounds of the sport. Get him in the next clinch, maybe hit him a little bit low just to let him know, hey, I'm not going to let you get rough with me. This was beyond that. It was
not the blow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just an obvious point deduction. Now, it didn't really seem to affect the outcome of the fight. Eventually, Ball got to him and was too much for Doheny. By the way, dried husk is a little unfair to the man. I thought he looked good early in the fight. I mean, Ball couldn't sort of do his normal bum rushing bullshit. And Doheny was, he still can. He sort of steps into the left and he throws it both to the head and something, and then he digs to the body with it. I liked what he was doing early in the fight. He just couldn't keep it up long enough to keep a much younger, strong, athletic, little short king like Nick Ball from getting it in the ass. But anyway. So, but look, the referee in round one, you need to get it. You just that's a point deduction. That's and yes, he did end up deducting a point. What, in the 9th round but that was after Nick Ball's second judo throw in a clinch. Like this,
fair point.
I hate to say this. Nick Ball is a fun fighter. All right. He's chippy. You could tell he has got a lot of rage in that little body of his, but he's dirty. All right. He looks dirty. He acts dirty. He might smell dirty. We might have to ask Kareem Mayfield about that. But he's a dirty fighter, and I wouldn't want to fight him in the UK if I were a non-British opponent, because they're going to let him do all that crazy Ricky Hatton garbage, the way that they jerked poor Kachizu around that time.
Oh my God. There. I mean, that ref just allowed that to be a full-on wow. So here's what I have to say about that non-point deduction in round one, and it was retaliation for an illegal tactic, but it was certainly an escalation, right? I don't think it's equal to have your glove under a guy's chin in a faux headlock and then kick somebody in the back of the leg. I think the reason why I wasn't ultimately mad or complaining on social media that a point wasn't taken away, was it me or did Doheny basically turned into a European soccer player and just fall right over and hold his leg as if he was, Nancy Kerrigan backstage. You know what I'm talking about right there? Like, come on, don't be pulling that LeBron flopping crap on us. We all saw that. All right.
You got to sell contact, though. I mean, you didn't even get a point deduction while trying his ass off to get some attention from the ref. So if I guess I understand. It looks corny, but that's the way sports are. You got to, if you want the call, you got to lobby for it these days in most sports. And the rest of the time, it's not like Doheny was doing nonsense like that the whole fight. That's the thing about and also Nick Ball's throws in the later rounds in those clinches. This was not this wasn't that sloppy of a fight. It's not like they were in terror, annoying clinches the whole time, chest to chest, nobody smothering each other. So it really felt, it really felt a little over the top. I mean, for me, that was inappropriate to say the least, brother.
I'm with you. Ultimately on there. I'm trying to figure out how good Nick Ball really is. He's exciting. He brings pressure to the situation. He has short, compact punches on a short, compact, sturdy body. He's certainly fitting the generic stereotype of future bin man, but he seems to be a little plus in that regard if I'm holding, a generic American bias toward white UK fighters, from the idea that he seems to have a good motor, decent level of angles and technique, but is ultimately not a square up action fighter, but an aggressive one in that regard. His only defeat is by split decision and a title loss to Ray Vargas, who's a competent fighter in these weight classes.
And he had 2 knockdowns in that fight.
And he had the breakthrough victory to get the title win. Short of the Inoue conversation, among the 126 elite, where do you put Nick Ball?
126 is sort of down at the moment, isn't it? I mean, I might put him near the top. Well, you got Stephen Fulton now. That would be a fight I would really like to see. I don't know if it's in the cards, given Fulton probably ain't going over there, and he's a PBC fighter. But that would, I mean, like Fulton's ability to handle himself inside, the kind of pressure that Ball would try to apply. I would love that fight and think it could, it would test both of them, and both fighters would get some credit for beating the other. Who else? Who's Ray? I mean, you mentioned the Vargas fight. No,
let me tell you the champions at the moment at the 126 per ESPN. Rafael Espinosa, the top rank, upset minded.
That big tall, whatever.
He's WBO champion. The IBF is Angelo Leo, who's had a nice career resurgence of late. Nick Ball in the WBA, Stephen Fulton Jr., the WBC, and then you've got Ray Vargas as the WBC champion in recess, whatever that means anymore. I'm not here to say Nick Ball's awful. I'm not here to say Nick Ball couldn't finish the 126 trek on top, even though I would definitely believe in Stephen Fulton's class, experience, and well-rounded ability above him. I'm here for the fun Nick Ball experience, but the aggressiveness he's showing, even though it's in a D2BG mindset of saying, I'm ready for an Inoue, come up to your 5th division. I want the monster. And we got, shout out to Dev Sani of Queensberry, who, the little guy who hosts those press conferences and is always very much a Frank Warren paid cheerleader. I'm with the opinion, though, that if you're going to put him in there with the monster, even moving up to another weight class, you're going to peel that kid off the canvas at the end of the day.
So the whole time watching that fight, and every time I watch Nick Ball fight, it just makes me think, man, I wish I could put a prime Nonito Donaire into the ring with this guy and watch him Victor Chinian the hell out of that guy on the way in with a left hook. It would be a magical moment. Poor Nick Ball would be knocked into another dimension. He also, but the thing is, I mean, at 126 was not Nonito's best weight. He eventually lost fights there, and I think that
he got murdered by the axe, right?
Yeah, later on, yes, he did. Later in his run, Nick Ball might be over. Might be too much for Nonito towards the end of his 126 run. But earlier, a few years earlier, when he first went up to 126, I think Nonito is starching that boy. And Inoue could very well do the same. But still, so what? I mean, why not see it? What's going on? Unless so, if Inoue has the 2025 that they say he's going to have, he fights MJ. That means he's basically cleaned out 122. If he can continue moving up in weight, that's impressive for someone who started winning titles at what, 108 pounds, or maybe if not that, 112.
So his 4 divisions are 22, 18,
15 and 12.
15 and 12. Yeah, there you go. Damn.
So for him to keep being that good, going up that far in weight and having to deal with taller fight now, Nick Ball ain't no taller fighter, but it is, and
he's
I think
thick,
that's
though.
probably
He's thick like Canelo.
Look,
right?
he fills out that 126 pounds pretty impressively for like a 4'6" individual. And that it might be hard to punch someone that short, man. Most people probably don't, unless they, I mean, look, do you have to get children to spar with you? All right, I should stop.
Okay. That's enough.
But look, that's it. That's a good move for Inoue at the end of the year. Because why not? I mean, Ball is a champion at 126 pounds. He'll have some hype behind him, not like any of the other guys outside of Fulton. Well, and Inoue already beat Fulton, so what's like that's honestly looks like one of the better fights at 126 pounds when Inoue gets there. Who would you rather see?
I'd rather see Ball Fulton first. I'd rather see them fight and try to claim. I mean, I know you have Leo as a champion. I know, like we said, Ray Vargas lingering.
Look, is a play. Those guys are placeholders, man. They're just keeping belts warm for somebody else.
I just don't know if that's a fight that could happen without Turkey interference. It's like I could see Inoue making his Saudi/Riyadh Season debut at the end of the year in his 4th fight against Ball, a Frank Warren guy, easy to make now that, Turkey's still giving out money for the next 12 to 18 or 24 months until the TKO takeover is ready and complete. But yes, I would love to see Ball against Fulton. You mentioned Doheny. Are we still in a hashtag risk it all situation for his wife, or that's you can't talk about that publicly?
I know I don't do that sort of thing. That's your opinion also, man. I don't even know where it's coming from. But she's very good at Taekwondo.
And she's a trainer and manager of him.
I don't know how well that went, but man, so remember when they were getting into those? I mean, I don't know if you were following the taglish in those videos as ably as some other viewers might have, but the back and forth with Jerwin Ancajas, not Ancajas. Who was the other guy from Ismail? It's probably one of my guys.
You talking about Sean Gibbons?
No, but Gibbons was managing that other. What's his name from Cavite? Oh, damn. You know what I'm talking about? Bad hair.
Genesis Servania?
No. Another guy. Dang.
I have a guy from Thailand. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, man. He beat not sorry. Anyway, go ahead, man. Let's
play 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon box rec separation here. We could probably figure this out,
He was supposed to fight Inoue, and it never happened during the pandemic.
Is that the fight that fell apart because of the trash talking? That team,
yes.
That team Doheny thought that they were too,
a little too disrespectful. No. It's too harsh.
Yes, please, Jim Gray. Okay, no, don't disrespect me.
It's Nonito's night.
All right, so that was Ball over there in Frank Warren land. Did you have a feeling that I have that even though we love ourselves some Steve Bunce, the Bunce man, ready? Steve Bunce.
Wasn't Bunce, was it?
Bunce was the in-ring or should I say out of ring at times interviewer, only his voice was completely lost. So
I did hear that on his podcast.
Saw him square up, put his back to the camera, whisper in the ear of Ball and Frank Warren, and it was just awkward TV. What should be done in your opinion in that spot? I know you don't tend to care about boxing broadcasting as anything more than what it provides as a soundtrack to the fight. But I don't know if somebody should work when you can't hear him talk in that regard.
I mean, that's between him and his employers. You're probably right. What would you do, Brian? Would you back out? Would you jack from that? Would you bottle it? Also, are you turning down that payday?
No, I got to put these kids through college. I won't jack. I'll never back down. I'll be there until I can't breathe. All right, let's also hit up what we saw on Saturday on DAZN. I wasn't even going to watch this card, and then I stumbled into it live in terms of it was on when the skinheads weren't, and I was able to check it out. Or no, it went head to head with the skinheads, but it was a really bad card. Dude, I'm in on Ammo Williams, the middleweight. He was in the main event of this Orlando card. Oh, look at the eye roll. I was never in on Ammo. I want you to know that, okay? And this was not a perfect performance.
Is it too late to cancel your subscription?
But he took on Patrice Volny, a guy who fighting out of Canada I had never heard of. I'm sure Corey Erdman has called like every one of his fights on the way up. But right away, I fell in love with Patrice Volny's weird style, the way it's influenced by Winky Wright, the fact that he came into boxing as a late teenager only after watching Winky on TV and going, I can mimic that style. He does it between the high guard, but only his arms seem even longer than Winky's. And what he typically does, and he's lost a couple of very close decisions, is wait you out, let you kind of gas out in the first half, banging against his guard, and then sneakily chip away and bring it on over time. And dude, his creativity of corkscrew uppercuts and sneaky shots were incredible. In the end, Ammo Williams wins what I thought was an earned unanimous decision, even if two of those scores were pretty damn wide, one of them extremely wide. But I'm here to tell you this. As much as this was a step forward for Ammo Williams, and I love Kevin Cunningham in that corner getting in that ass, and I love Ammo afterwards saying, I wouldn't have won unless Coach Cunningham kicked me in that ass during the fight. If Ammo wasn't in a career best shape, physically, mentally, cardio, like he looked like championship form physically, I thought he might wither in that fight because Volny was as tricky an opponent as you can get at this point for Ammo. And while it was a breakthrough win, there are some things we need to look at. Where are you right now in a dead division of 160 at where Ammo Williams fits in right now without a belt?
I mean, look, we've got whatever remains of Erislandy Lara with one of the belts, and eventually he's going. Well, actually, no, he's Cuban. He's ageless. He may be there forever. But you figure eventually Lara will either retire or lose a fight to somebody. If he fights again, he might just be able to hold the belt forever. I don't know. Or he'll just keep fighting Danny Garcia anyway.
And Cornflake LaManna. Yeah. So Lara has the BA, Adames has the BC, Janabek has the other two. But it's a wide open division, it feels.
It does, although, so you name three titleists. I think that Ammo loses to at least two of them. Also, let me ask you a question about Ammo Williams. Let's do some mythical matchups. You think he's better than Willie Monroe Jr.? You think that he's better than Gabriel Rosado back in the day? I think Gabriel Rosado might still be able to give him a hard night.
Are you saying that because Gabe's currently feuding with Bill Haney on Twitter and it's getting hilarious?
No, I don't pay any attention to that. I don't know what either of them is doing. But I just I don't see I don't see anything special there. I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. Shout out to the box here. There's nothing special in this division for the most part, although in
Ammo Williams, I don't see anything special in him.
Got you. But even in the division, like Janabek can fight. Adames is a tough out. I think Hamza Shiraz, after Turki gave him that heads up about the scorecards, is going to move up to 68 and not take the hard weight cut. But let's talk about what we learned from Ammo. Dude, like it's been a little bit up and down. He had that one defeat. He's shown us flashes, but this felt like the most consistently mature performance. Seeing him switch at times to being a boxer when he needed to, seeing him respond to his corner's advice to get in there and let his hands go at times. I did think you could have actually made a case for Volny winning that fight. And I teased the bag yesterday and told you I've been in that guy's DMs talking to him, just saying, man, I love your style. And he basically said, look, nothing Ammo threw hurt me. He said, I figured I might get screwed here. And maybe maybe I need to realize I need to throw more punches in the future. But I love that Ammo got tested by what turned out to be a really slick, difficult guy. And I ultimately like that Ammo had the stamina, the poise, and the varied, well-rounded game to pull it off. I don't know if his power's for real here. I don't really know that. But I like the developments of this young fighter who seems to have the right mindset. He wants the smoke. He wants to be great. And if he keeps coming in that physical shape, he might be able to do something in this division.
I think that he could do something in this division. It just, it wasn't that impressive. I mean, I thought he won too, basically on activity and having banked a lot of those early rounds. But he, when the fight started cooking and it turned into a really entertaining fight down the stretch, that that he didn't look that good anymore, and he was getting hurt a couple times with some of those sneaky left hooks, and he was getting caught coming in. And also the thing that kind of disappointed me, well, yeah, his stamina, his conditioning, you could tell that he was ready for 12 rounds, and I believe he is. He said that was an issue for him in the fight against when he lost to Hamza Shiraz, but I'm guessing I'm still talking to some man like I'm just talking to this man. I don't see BC on my screen anymore. But hey, am I still talking to this man like I'm talking to this man?
I'm sorry?
Am I still talking to you like I'm talking to this man?
You've been talking to me the whole time, right?
All right. So anyway, but the thing with Williams, it didn't. Why? So and maybe his arms just look short compared to Patrice Volny, because like that it was incredible. I don't know if I've ever seen a forearm that could stretch from the top of like your temple to like below your hip. It was wild. But but he couldn't. He did, the way, like when we remember some of those fights when Floyd would adjust and he'd start punching around the guard, he'd start looping his right instead of throwing it straight. Yes. Amo never really got there. He kept throwing straight, trying to split that guard, and he was successful at times, but you're waiting for him to make, he made some other adjustments and he managed to win the fight, and he stepped up when he needed to, but there was, you want to see him kind of, hit the target a little bit more.
I'm with you on that. And there's things that he's got to work on. I guess I'm going to be very truthful with him. I didn't really rate him as a big time prospect coming into this fight. I'd seen things that I liked and didn't like. I know that he's got the Eddie Hearn backing, and I do like the way Eddie's handled some of these, young American fighters on his roster these days. It was never quite the Eddie takes over America like he thought he would, but like he's doing well with some of these guys. This changed my opinion, this performance. And as we look at the ESPN.com, I'm sure the top operator has a hand in these, the rankings. You got Janabek 1, Adames 2, then it goes Lara, Chris Eubank Jr., who's got that big fight coming up, Shiraz at 5, Kyron Davis, the upset-minded guy who took down a young Elijah Garcia at 6, the guy who I can't pronounce, who's fighting Janabek next at number 7, another couple of names I can't pronounce. How about Josh Kelly, ranked 10th here? Not in the top 10 is Ammo, but are we ready now for him to get up to a certain level? I mean, I don't know if Jamal Charlo's walking through that door, but who wins that fight tomorrow?
All right, that depends entirely on what condition and state Jamal Charlo is in. I haven't seen him. Obviously, I've heard he, had a rough couple of years, took some time away from the sport. I don't even know if he's active. Is he considered an active fighter? Is PBC going to have a fight for him this year?
I hear rumors that both are coming back this spring. I mean, didn't Jermel put on TikTok that he's fighting on DAZN in May? I don't know if that's true. I have not.
Once again, this is not something. Those are not services that I am a patron of.
Either am I. So yeah. I'm wondering if that's true. Does that mean he's going to fight? This is Jermel, by the way. Does that mean he's going to fight, let's say, Virgil Ortiz Jr.? I mean, I'd be down for that fight if that's the case. No, I hope Jamal comes back, but I think we can say, first of all, we can say as Community Service Band does that Josh Kelly better watch out if you're the plaster.
Did you catch during the Nick Ball fight? They did a quick mention. They were going through his bio and like, great story about the young lad. I don't know why I turned Irish, but he quit boxing for 3 years after the amateurs and was just working with his dad as a plasterer. I was like, yes, another plasterer.
I heard that. Moment. That's great. We have Santo coming in here supporting not only this show but our other iterations. Happy Thursday, fellas. A little something for Rafe. Having to talk so much Ammo Williams. Shout out to the Ropes Snapchat. I do appreciate the service you're giving to our hardcore fans by being willing to watch an Ammo Williams main event there. But shout out to that guy. Love me some old Kevin Cunningham. Big fan of Ammo's manager, by the way, Sam Kakowski. You know that dude?
He's one of the Hollywood guys, right? Does he get down with Pete Berg?
He's down with Pete Berg.
Do they have that gym together?
Yes. Is that Churchill?
I don't know. By the way, is Peter Berg who knocked down who in that sparring? What's going on?
I know Peter Berg mixed up. He's like, yeah, I heard Bivol knocked Benavidez out. No, it's the other way. A jab knocked down Bivol reportedly. There we go, right there. Loving the box right now, but that co-main event in Florida. Edgar Berlanga's final fight under this current Matchroom deal, and we really don't know where he's going next because we saw him and Eddie Hearn afterwards in the ring. Eddie talking matter-of-factly like, we'll get the deal done, we'll be fine. But we know that that he wants bigger names, Berlanga, including Caleb Plant. But, Rafe, this was the first fight back after that near shutout loss to Canelo Alvarez, where he was dropped. But I guess you could say the fact that he went the distance, the fact that he didn't get mercilessly beat up was a minor win. Obviously, Edgar has been getting criticized for turning that into a major win / world tour / giving advice to other fighters publicly because of that. And now he's talking about a possible Canelo rematch, but that's another topic. He came back here after the long layoff, but he welcomed a dude who had an extremely long layoff. And I don't know if we have to hand in our hardcore boxing cards for not realizing who this opponent was coming in. The 20-0-1. What was his first name?
Jonathan Gonzalez Ortiz. He wasn't Ortiz before. He was, when I saw him back in the day, 2012, Verona, New York, HBO undercard, Bob Papa in the house with Max Kellerman, Triple G's U.S. debut, coming in 9 pounds overweight for a junior middleweight fight against Sergei the Razor Zinzurich. He was Jonathan. I remember he spelled it with no T, just Jonathan. Mantequilla, butter, Gonzalez. And I think it was because he's supposed to be smooth like butter back then, but he clearly doesn't mind eating a hot butter bagel and then some buttery croissants.
You better
and then
believe
a stick of butter here and there.
Did you see the man's manhandles on there? Oh, here's what I'm going to say about him. We completely forgot he was that dude known for two things: missing weight by like 86 pounds in that co-main event you mentioned in Verona. That was the Grigory Proksa versus Triple G American debut that you and your daddy enjoyed. And just what a great father-son moment.
My father turned to me and said, Rafe, he's not just real. He's the most incredible destroyer, gifted I've ever laid eyes on.
Indeed. I remember him I didn't know he was an Olympian for Puerto Rico. I remember him having that unbeaten record and just sort of being a guy. He's not bad, not good. But when this got announced, everybody's like, oh my God, did you see the picture of his opponent? He's got huge love handles. He looks like a plasterer. And we're looking at the box rec. We're like, wow, the guy retired for 10 years. Dude, I had no idea that retirement means armed robbery, 10-year jail conviction in which he ballooned up over 300 pounds. To his credit, he got back in shape and he trotted out that still glossy record. And I guess to Berlanga's credit, all he needed was a few combinations to score a bunch of knockdowns and then violently finish him. So it really was a waste of time, and Berlanga took care of the situation, so there were no issues. Should we make a big stink about that level of opponent though? Or make a big stink about Berlanga going from a pay-per-view main event down to on Austin Williams's co-main at the Caribe Royale? Is this a major fall from grace? Is this just Hearn's not sure what to do and they're at odds, so we'll just roll out the contract? I'm trying to understand what we even saw on Saturday.
I mean, I think you would need to ask someone who believes in Edgar Berlanga as an important fighter and who thinks that his career is something that matters to answer those questions. And not fake news. My father was not a Puerto Rican Olympian. He was a bartender at McSorley's Old Ale House for
42 years.
48, motherfucker.
Well, why don't we get to 50? Get to 50, G-Bot. Come on.
The pandemic happened, man. He had no choice. De Blasio shut him down. Anyway,
Chris or Mayor. Sorry, there you go.
Yeah. No, it seemed like an understandable situation, right? All of the report, the story around Berlanga was going into this fight made sense. It was not great. It wasn't ideal, but they said that he wanted to come back with a slightly better, but still not threatening, get well opponent after the loss against Canelo. Eddie Hearn didn't want to make that kind of fight and put him at the top of the card for him which is okay. They disagreed on that. So it was the last fight of the deal. And Berlanga said, all right, well, give me a pie. And they went out and found a big buttery slice of pie, Jonathan Gonzalez-Ortiz, and he ate that pie in one quick round. Like, Berlanga, champ, you're going to need 5-6 more of those pies before you're ready to fight Canelo again or Benavidez or really any decent fighter. And I don't even know if you could eat that. You're going to win that many fights against half these. How much more can they protect this man? But like I get the story of how it came together made sense. It sounds like they're going to part ways. Was Eddie just trying to save face in the moment, saying they're going to figure it out or not? Maybe, I don't know, but it seems like Berlanga's just going to move on with his career, and this was the last fight on the deal. Everyone was meeting their contractual obligations, and by doing the least amount possible, right? Fighter didn't like what was being offered him. Promoter didn't like dealing with the fighter or his pain in the ass manager.
And was like, Keith Connolly, manager to the Stars?
You mean E from Entourage? Yeah. And so they're like, all right, well, look, let's just dead this. Let's get this out of the way and move on. And so that's what they did. And if it leads to Berlanga going, whether I don't care who he signs with, how it gets done, but if his next fights are against Caleb Plant or other decent 168 pounders who fight with PBC or wherever, that's great. I mean, we like Plant and him are already beefing. It makes sense. They both lost to Canelo badly, and that will be a fun fight to watch. And Plant is still good. I've never been as high on him as some, even at his peak, but it would be impressive, and at least it would impress me if Edgar Berlanga could beat the current version of Caleb Plant. So I'd love it if they make that fight. I don't mind how they get there.
I'm with you. I get the sentiment against Berlanga. I didn't love this moral victory tour, but I have to say, I think he's better than we thought. And I think to some degree he showed that. To some small degree he showed that against Canelo, because he was the 16 first round knockout guy, and then the, oh my God, is he actually still around guy? And he hasn't faced enough good names. But I think for what we can learn from this matchup, which isn't much, he does look more aggressive, more crisp. He's got the new flashy, fresh tattoos on the back. I will be talking to him later today on the BCX, so hopefully I can get a feel on where he's headed and going. But I got to say, the backstory between him and Caleb Plant, the style contrast, the potential trash talking, all that, and the fact that in the post-fight interview, Berlanga said, I got 3 names I want. Well, really 4, because he's still talking about Canelo. But he says, I got 3 names I want. Jaime Munguia, Jermall Charlo, or Caleb Plant. 2 of 3 of those are obviously in PBC land with Uncle Al. Do we believe that Toad from Entourage is going to call Mr. Cancer and get this deal done?
I would love it if they could. I don't know. I don't see why not. Like what it doesn't the offerings, the relationship other than being able to make that Canelo fight on DAZN. What else is there to do at Matchroom? I mean, look, Eddie can, and that's not a knock on Matchroom. It just sort of seems like it didn't work out that.
That's not the real man. That's not. I mean, are we
talking to this man like I'm talking to this man?
Are we talking to this man right now?
I don't know, man. I don't creep on his YouTube.
Okay, okay. You don't check your dad's search history, right? Okay.
I try not to, but man, sometimes the older generation, they're not as clever with using the incognito tab, and sometimes, man, you step on the wrong button, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, yo, I wasn't there.
Hot Irish broads. Okay. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do that. I mean, is there still a ceiling for Berlanga that he hasn't accessed? I don't mean beating the Canelo types, but like, what percentage would you give him a chance to beat a Caleb Plant?
I think he's in that fight. He's not. I'm talking shit mostly because he's been so protected on the way to the Canelo fight.
That's definitely your dad. That's the way he talks.
Sounds like him. It sounds like it. It could be. Yeah. I think that he is a real contender at 168 pounds, and I think my frustration over the years has been he played the Canelo waiting game well, which Caleb Plant played it first. A lot of fighters have done that, and when the lottery ticket comes along and you get to lose a fight and make a lot of money off of it, you can't really knock a guy. I hope now that he's gotten that out of the way and he's calling out other, talented, accomplished fighters. Go prove it. Go show us where you actually belong in this division. There's no shame in not being as good as Canelo Alvarez, genuinely an all-time great. It hurts to say that. But
a great heel.
Yeah. Can't really take that away from him at this point. But let's see where you're at, and if he gets those kind of fights, Munguia, even though, look, we could say a lot of the same things about Munguia, but they would be fun fights. And just like, go do it.
Yeah, Munguia's got to first get past Bruno Sarace a second time on the Canelo Skull May 3rd co-main event undercard. That undercard's like kind of good and kind of bad at the same time. Did you see it? No. We're getting Bakoli Ajagba, even though Bakoli just got sent to hell last week, and we're getting the debut of that hot Mexican Olympian that signed with Team Canelo, and we're getting Miguel Cotto promoted Brian Leon, who I once called the fight in Puerto Rico for Ring City. So it's not incredible, but it's something. I mean, the main event blows chunks. Let's be fair. Okay.
How are they going to be able to find a small enough venue in Saudi Arabia to contain, to pack with 12 fans? Because like that. So we've seen great events get nobody showing up out there. They're going to have, they had to go down to 6,000 for the last Crescendo, which was awesome. And so for this, hunk of trash, what are they going to have to find? It'll be like the world's nicest high school gymnasium. It'll be first class. It'll look beautiful.
No,
inside.
It's like
$1 billion high school gymnasium for 12 people.
We can rip Canelo, even though the purpose of this job is to make the biggest bag, and he's worked the connections and been a aggressive businessman, and for the most part, until recently, has given us what we wanted. But seeing him in these tiny arenas feels like it's going to break my heart. I know we're probably getting Crawford at that big Vegas stadium, but then you get Dana involved. I don't know what's going on anymore, dude. Finally, from the weekend, speaking of Dana, he was ringside Sunday night for the biggest Irish boxing card in New York City history at the theater at MSG.
Is that because it had the most Irish people on it, or how the hell did they make
it had a lot of Irish, and it had the Hebrew Hammer, Cletus Selden, on it too. You better believe that. It also did not have your boy BC on broadcast, but that's fine. But they did have former UFC fighter Pearl Gonzalez on doing color. That was a choice. In the end, unbeaten Callum Walsh, Freddie Roach trained, Tom Loeffler promoted, and of course Dana White supported, delivered on the first round KO, and I guess another highlight reel victory that will add to his run. But here's the problem. And I don't generally have issues with Callum Walsh. I know that Dana is putting it out there like he's Keyshawn Davis when he's not, right? I know that he's showing up, by the way, Callum Walsh. They run his highlights on WWE Raw and SmackDown. When he's in the crowd, they say, here he is, the biggest prospect in all of boxing, which obviously is not true, but it's part of the TKO salesman job. I get it. But they got to bring in some live bodies. Dean Sutherland came in with like a, 19-1 record or what have you. He got lit up with a couple combos, and then it really was a very pretty 2-punch combination that dropped him and finished him. The problem a lot of people are having, and even Kevin Iole, who, finds a way to defend the UFC at every turn, it seems, in writing, he even wrote a column about like, hey, lovely young fighter, but can we get live bodies in there? And the main point of argument seems to be that Sutherland last fall went 6 rounds with a guy with 124 losses. Now there are those guys who you just can't KO, that's their job. But does it feel like from the Przemysław-Ranovsky fight that I called in Dublin last fall to this fight that we're not escalating? Do you think that they're holding Walsh to like debut for TKO Boxing and fighting for the title? Like, do you care? What did you learn from this KO one?
I mean, it doesn't seem like he's fought anyone yet. So look, I had low expectations for the opposition. I don't know what we're watching yet with Callum Walsh. It was pretty fun though. I will say that it was like I liked the combinations he threw. I like his sort of long looping, like heavy hands. He didn't look that explosive to me, but he had a nice rhythm. I would watch him again. I have no clue. Dino Sutherland is probably about as terrible as he looked. So I'm not going to take too much away from this performance, but I would watch Walsh again. And when he steps up, I will be very interested. Fighter, I mean, it's hard to tell a fighter and his team when they have to step up, because that is really, I mean, that's nut cutting time, right? Because when they step in to the ring against a real live opponent who might be favored, who might or just clearly has the goods to win on a good night, then that and if it doesn't go well, it could derail the whole money train. So I'm willing to be a little bit patient with that. I also never bothered watching any of his crap before, so I'm a little more patient because of that. Are you eating?
I had one more bite of my breakfast. I was trying to sneak that in.
I want to see it. I want to see it all.
I want to see the whole man.
Yeah. What are you noshing on there? Did you get it at a gas station? I know what you're doing there over by the hot dog truck, Brian. Oh, why are you hiding, son? Come back. What is this? Put some questions on the screen or something. Brian. Where's Reggie Jackson at?
It's a beautiful vase over your shoulder. Does it have a backstory or no?
No, we got it at a thrift store.
All right. Sorry, guys. I had to be unprofessional there and finish my food there.
Wouldn't listeners, wouldn't you rather see Brian eat than have him dish me on the screen here?
It's fine. Sorry, just trying to mix in life.
I've been to some good mukbangs.
I mean, we've all eaten there where Project Zeb has too. You know what I mean? But
I found some pretty nasty mukbang videos in my dad's search history.
Okay. All right. Hey, Alan W is here to talk about boobs. Thank you, Alan. As always, I think you're right. I actually really like Callum Walsh. I've interviewed him a bunch of times. I think he has the right attitude. He wants to be great. He wants to get into contention and fight for a title. I do believe that he's not a prospect anymore. He's coming closer to a contender. But I got questions about when or how they will match him. I did see Chris Mannix saying, look, great idea. Xander Zayas versus Callum Walsh, MSG, Puerto Rican fan base, Irish fan base. Let's go. I can't have the confidence given the fact that TKO Boxing's got like a 12 to 24 month plan here of rolling out their new prospect league, unless they're going to put Callum Walsh in the co-main of Crawford Canelo. I just don't know if we're going to see him against somebody with danger. No, I don't think we're going to see that for a while. I don't think he needs to prepare his whores for the war to come, is what I'm saying.
No, I would be, and I also love that idea of Mannix's to have him fight Xander Zayas, but it's usually not the route we see, unless outside of Showbox, the glory days of those undefeated, someone's must go fights between really, really top or often top prospects. We don't see a whole lot of that. It's more common that you'll see them step up against long in the tooth former titleists, guys who still know how to handle themselves in the ring, but have also lost a few times and aren't likely to turn back the clock on one night. I mean, we'd see him against, I don't know if they're still in the right weight range, but if Walsh was fighting Walsh, yeah. If he was fighting with PBC, like we might see him in there with, Banana Rosario
True.
or J-Rock or one of those guys.
No doubt about it. And I do wonder how he would do given the experience gap against them. I do wonder if it's stunting his growth to blow away these guys the first time he lands on their chin. I mean, he's huge for the division. He seems to have good pop, good accuracy. But we got to see if all those other intangibles.
The great Kurt Emhoff was saying on one of his recent Boxing Esquire podcasts that Walsh fought, he thought Walsh struggled with some opponent that you guys at Ring City USA back in the day saw Brandon Adams just walk through.
Oh yeah, what was that guy's name? Who are we talking about? Let me bring this up.
See, I didn't watch either of those fights, so this is something you're going to have to come in and save the day with.
Let's see, Callum Walsh. Yeah, I don't remember. Callum Walsh did beat the Well, at the time was the dried husk of the late RIP Carson Jones back in 2023. That was, a name we had seen or heard of. I don't even recognize. Is he talking about Dorian Yalusin? No, I didn't call that guy's fight. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure who Kurt was mentioning. Sometimes, you call a bunch of undercards and you especially prelim undercards, and you never know if you'll see these guys.
It's good. If I was a fighter watching this right now, Brian, I would take a lot of I would feel really good about the fact that you're not going to remember my name 3 minutes after the fight.
Yeah, I mean, I've already tried to eat on a live show, so and then I got a cat walking all over me. I'm unprofessional at all times. Let's get real with that. Before we get into our transition into this big boxing scene report about TKO and their potential pay structure,
huge report.
I did want to say, Alan W., thank you for your support. And yes, I try to chew off camera because I turn into Egg Chen when my tick, my wandering eye. You ever see that in me? You've never seen me eat?
I don't think I've noticed that. I saw you house a giant tray of nachos next to Jerry Olaya.
Damn right. You're damn right. But I wanted to ask you something that a lot of people have asked in here. Let's hear it from Brody Moret because it combines worlds that you love. Has Rafe been at any dice games with Adrien Broner and NBA players recently? Do you know about this scandal that has come out on boxing Twitter?
No. I thought that was just like Brody shouting me out as the kind of guy who once played a little bit of CeeLo in high school.
No, apparently Broner is being accused of entering fixed dice games and taking NBA players for a wild amount of money, and then NBA players paying off some big heavy to try to get it back. I don't know if I really understand all of the details.
I will report back on this because this is I'm very interested in this.
And yes, I do have a Tony Margarita eye, and I do have Paris of plaster on my pelotas. Thank you very.
I like to use it to give a little extra stiffness all over the body.
There we go. A bunch of hard men on this show, watching this show, living for this show. Let's get into the report. So Lance Pugmire, a guy we certainly, if he's going to report something, you're going to believe he's not fooling around here. From BoxingScene.com. Now, full disclosure, of course, Boxing Scene owned by Pro Box's Gary Jonas, and I think they're doing a decent job with Tris Dixon as the editor, Eric Raskin, our friend, writing there, of separating to some degree. Obviously you'll get a...
And our former Ultimate ESPN boy from well, I don't think he lives in Chi-Town anymore, but Jason Langendorf editing over there. Big
is
shout
he
to
editing? Wait, hold on. Is he editing over there?
Yeah. Or
I was unaware. I love Jason Langendorf. Okay, I got to reach out to that guy. Love that guy. So what I'm saying is I respect the transition they've made. Yes, it's pro box heavy because they own it.
I respect your transition.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm still in midway through it. But what I'm saying is, look, Boxing Scene was formerly owned by Paramount, which owned Showtime Boxing. So you knew you were going to get high placement for Showtime, but I felt like it was fair reporting. So the report from Lance Pugmire is that he talked to multiple managers who showed him the early contracts that TKO Boxing is sending out for these younger fighters, the prospects. Have you seen the pay scale that was reported from this? I've seen like polar opposite opinions of people saying like, oh, they're going to take over boxing with this UFC crap pay structure. But I think the more you look at it, you certainly can say this pay structure would help the middle class of boxing. It would take title level guys who aren't popular and give them consistently big paydays. Would it suffice the popular guys? Probably not. And are you bringing people in for basement bottom dollar to start? Yes, but I think you're also doing that at the bottom levels of boxing to begin with. I think the things that a lot of people picked up from this, if all of this is accurately reported, and I believe it is that you sign with them, you're automatically on the books for 3 fights. We know the history of UFC having draconian contracts that have constant kickers that keep you under wraps. All in all, what did you make of this pay structure in terms of what it might say about how quickly TKO might be able to flip the sport upside down and rebuild it from the ground up?
I think the details in Lance's report, especially with the pay structure ranging, 5,000 signing bonus, unranked fighters are getting 20 grand. And then the highest, and then to challenge for a title, 375 or 350. And then a defending champion is getting 750 grand. And then, in the middle ranges, it varies. Look, my takeaway was that this isn't a rest. It did not read like the blueprint to take over boxing. It read like the blueprint for a good, what could turn out to be a very good mid-level fight series. The kind of thing like you once helped at Ring City USA, the kind of thing that Pro Box does on their cards, the kind of thing that Tuesday Night Fights was back in the day. I know Dana was citing that. Friday Night Fights on ESPN.
Showbox, baby.
Showbox, the gold standard for that level of promotion. And for that, look, it seems like they would have a lot of dates if they're guaranteeing 150 fighters, three fights over a 2-year span. It seemed, I see you, bloke. Box Rec. I like the new Box Rec. I also miss the old Box Rec.
Shout out Rick Reno.
Yeah, Rick. I mean, and even though Rick is now working at the Ring, it doesn't, nothing had that old Box Rec feel where it was just like this fire hose of weird stuff from all over the sport. And they're just the posts of like photo galleries from weigh-ins. I used to pick that shit dry for weird memes because you'd see like terrible pictures of fat weigh-ins and fighters looking at the ring card girls at the weigh-in. Anyway, I miss the mess, the glorious mess of old Box Rec, while also
if you tease the bag, you have a chance of getting the mess.
That's right. And the hooker headlines.
You got to play with the bag first. Yeah. A quick question to interrupt you from Octopus with no friends. BC and Rafe, do you believe TKO Boxing going to put that thing down, flip it, and reverse it? If y'all from and if a man yang, come on. Right?
I think they're gonna smack it up, flip it, and rub it down.
Do me, baby. Thank you. So you're right what you're saying. I still think we have unanswered questions about this is still their long range plan, and we have unanswered questions of when the flip switches. And the switch for me is when Turkey stops giving money to the Franks, Eddies, Oscars, etc. for the next year to year and a half. Dana's now saying a year and a half to 2 years that Turkey might have commitments with people. Then we think all the money is going toward TKO. My question is, how much money will they have access to sign legitimate big name potential free agents, the Ryan Garcias, the Teofimos, like that? I don't know if they're going to get there. I don't know if that's part of their plan. I don't know how much Saudi is going to commit to that. But this seems about what I expected because it's competitive pricing in some categories where you're definitely going to appeal to some people. But it's always going to be a danger because if you sign with them, you're going to be stuck with them most likely, and you're not going to have access to fighting people outside of those walls most likely.
So I think that's something that was not included in the story. And I don't know if the contracts that Lance got to see or that managers or whoever lawyers that saw them described to him for the story. But I would want, I guess, was there anything that looked like those kickers, those little trap doors that allow a promoter like TKO in this case to wrap up a fighter longer than, say, that 2-year period that was reported. So, because the way if I look at it, if you're that kind of fighter in that range where you're trying to make a name for yourself, you aren't a former Olympian with a big signing bonus contract with Matchroom or Top Rank or something like that. If you are then it could be attractive, assuming you're not trapped for the rest of your career. If it's something where I know I'm going to go get, good exposure, and if I win, I will get 3 fights on some decent platform because of all the big players involved between Dana White and TKO and Nick Khan. I'm going to go get a good exposure. If I can go 3-0 in this year, in 2 years, and know that I actually can, be a free agent after that, that is a pretty good. I think that can be a good opportunity for a lot of fighters. The devil is in the details, of course, on whether or not they come up with ways to trap fighters beyond that in ways that aren't really fair to them.
Tied to this, I think to some degree, is the very long Twitter space that Turki Alalshikh did last week, which seemed to be the first time he was going public at length in response to the response from the aggressive announcement, the launch of TKO Boxing, the comments from Turki that him and Dana are going to crush the competition, the iteration or intimation that they will not work with others. And it was Turki like pushing the brakes, almost like coming out and saying, don't worry, it's not what you think, right? Like in going, he specifically said that Dana will handle all the announcements moving forward. Dana's in charge. I would have to believe that was a response to Dana being upset at Turki, on First Take and other places kind of teasing or jumping ahead of the announcements. But he made it seem like, no, we're not going to drive everybody out of business. We're not coming to blah, blah, blah. I didn't believe him per se, but I think it mirrors with comments Dana made at the Callum Walsh fight, where he's suddenly saying, when asked, will you be working with other promoters? Even though a week earlier he said no, now he's like, well, we'll have to wait and see. Do you believe this is TKO going, oh, maybe we were a little too heavy-handed, too aggressive? Maybe we gave away the secrets of our takeover and telegraphed it 6 to 24 months in advance. And maybe they're going like, it might not be best for business if people are already looking at us as the evil empire who's coming to take everyone's jobs.
All that is true. I think there's also I think with Turki's Twitter space, this guy loves not just attention. He's not like someone who he wants to be fawned over, right? And it's been a nice run of him making great fights, splashing money around, and making the kind of And what's wrong? Oh, I see. I don't know. Look, man, the eyes look fine to me. Don't worry. I don't know about that though.
I want to start looking like Steve Willis, where I can watch 2 TV screens at the same time.
I don't want you to turn it into Big Bertha from Pee-wee's Big Adventure here.
Large Marge.
Oh man, geez. Yeah. But I think Turki likes to be fawned over and credited for all the good he's doing in boxing. And I don't know why he thought that the boxing audience and promoters who've been very kind to him and appreciative of what he's done for the sport over the past few years would have continued liking what he was saying when he had that press conference with Dana to announce the TKO venture. Was like, and now, like Khrushchev style, now I crushed you. I don't know why that he thought that was a good move, but he probably wanted to go back and get some of that, go get some of the love back. It's hard to tell when was he lying? Was he lying yesterday or today? One of them is probably not true. And with Dana, I think saying that he might be interested or willing, if he has to, work with other promoters, to me, that sounds like maybe he's just running up against the realities of boxing, where if you're trying to find 150 fighters who are worth watching on TV and are not at all, are complete promotional free agents, and sign them all up in a year, that sounds pretty difficult. Yes. They're like, boxing has been around for a long time, and most of the fighters who are worth a damn, even in the mid levels, have a promoter at the moment. So it might just be them running up against the realities of the sport. And maybe I believe Dana when he was on Dan Rayfield's podcast saying, well, I want it to be all my own thing. I don't want to work with the other promoters. I want to have my sandbox and build it the way I think it should be built. That just may be impossible. And I think look, my hope for this is not that it takes over the sport, but that it actually just does what it, at the moment, the blueprint looks like it is, which is to create a good, consistent, easy to watch on some either ESPN or Netflix or wherever, like mid-range ambition series of good fights that leads to something, because they hopefully have some promotional control over it and can make, at least within their realm, their best fighters fight their other best fighters. All of that sounds like a good thing. And hopefully on top of that, when a fighter does get other opportunities, they don't prevent them from fighting, from doing that at the end of their contracts. I kind of hope that's how it plays out. That would be a product that doesn't really exist on a consistent basis or at a a prominent media partner right now, I think it would be, it would help. And if the handful of stars who get built out of that would have a lot of bargaining power coming out of their deals with TKO because presumably they would have been seen by a lot of people, because I do believe in the production ability and also just like the media power behind that venture. It's something that I think could be good. The sort of evil mastermind, now I'm going to take over the sport. That's where it's like, now I'm going to, bump my way to victory. That part doesn't, it doesn't really make sense. Like, I still don't see exactly how they get there. And two, I don't know if boxing wants that or if that would be good, in fact. And so I just hope I hope it is what it looks like. I feel a little naive saying that, because it's boxing. There's always an evil plan behind everything. But
it's 100% true, dude.
But like, this is like, it might also be. So I listened to you on Morning Combat discussing the UFC Netflix rumors, and it sort of felt like this might be of a part with that and TKO, and that maybe there is an evil plan in the background, but they realize it is like a 2 to 5% likelihood of it ever working out. And they're like, maybe we can roll up all of boxing, and if we can, we'll be masters of the universe. Great. But it doesn't matter, because we're getting 10 mil for free to spend someone else's money regardless.
10 mil's not a lot though, right? 10 mil per year to run that?
Sure. But like that means they can put that straight into all their pockets. Yeah. Like, and they probably get upside on whatever, on any kind of, they use it to
get ownership.
Their TV deals, the ownership. And they're just spending someone else's money. So it's, and so it's a little bit of a free roll. And I think that they would, that's gross. Shout out to Large Marge. I think that TKO, I guess what was I was building up to something, and then Large Marge.
Sorry, you got to deal with distractions in this podcast. Tough, usually my eating, cats. I think that what Dan Rayfield keeps saying, and he's done a lot of great, interviews with the one with Dana, a lot of great talking head pieces on this, where now Dan is taking the stance that I think a lot of hardcore boxing people are, that like, good luck to those guys, but it's going to be harder than you think to come in here and change everything up. But one thing he keeps saying with that is Nick Khan, Ari Emanuel, Dana White don't play small. They don't play to lose. They play to take over and win. And even though the difference in this case is what you said, it's not their money. And I don't know the fact that it's not their money, whether that means they'll be in it for the long haul or only the short haul. I'm not really sure. When times go bad, will all parties run? I don't know. But if you look at their recent history of monopolization in the other two combat sports, it's hard for me to sit here and feel like this is going to be a good thing. I cheer for them. Good luck. You know what I mean? I mean, like right now, being an MMA UFC fan, not as fun as it used to be for reasons that are all their fault for extracting so much money out of it. I mean, the WWE fans are going nuts how their ticket prices quadrupled 5 times more than it used to be. I don't know. The question to me is always going to involve how quickly can they sign those stars? Will there be an exodus of stars who want to make the leap? Are they going to get promised so much turkey money up front that they're willing to be the patient zero for TKO and help them move that? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. So you reminded me there. The thing about, when you were talking about UFC, you mentioned that the whole UFC Apex experience is not actually working out that well for the UFC. Maybe part of this is that they see it as, look, this is kind of win-win. There's this 5% chance we take over all of boxing, and if that happens, bully for us. There's also, we could just throw these fighters into this thing we built that isn't working out for other promotion. And, it's like a way to use, to make use of some of their sunk costs. Like there's a little bit of synergy
they're
here.
Building out the Apex. They're adding more seating this year. So they're going to shut it down for a while and expand.
Maybe they'll be able to turn it into a truly marvelous fight complex by 2026 or whenever the TKO boxing, whatever it's going to be called, launches.
I still feel like focus on Canelo Crawford. If that thing blows up, if it makes Netflix want to get involved, like I feel like TKO could be running big pay-per-views sooner than later, but that would also have to involve the other promoters up front being willing to partner for the Turkey money. I don't know how that's going to work. But a little spinoff from this conversation did happen yesterday on the Ring Magazine Twitter account. Do you remember when Turkey launched this, when he bought it from Oscar and said it will be separate from Riyadh season? It will be editorially independent. I mean, we all didn't believe that. I am shocked at how cool.
And then we see the magazine's editor sitting next to him on a couch like Boo Boy Fernandez would with Manny.
And then it comes. Did you see that interview with Dougie Fisher after that?
No.
In which he admitted that whole thing was a skit, that he purposely came out on Twitter and argued against the possibility of a TKO Boxing League working so that, are you ready for this? So that he could find out how many of his competitors would instantly call up Turkey and try to take his job. And Dougie reported with a smile on his face in that interview that many did. Many in boxing reached out to Turkey and tried to take Dougie's job, and that's why they played out that faux fight. This is so freaking bizarre to me that they're going to use the Ring Magazine's name and website to do this type of bullshit, along with Turkey admitting to Coppinger that he put out fake news repeatedly on the Ring to try to sway the Canelo negotiations away from Jake Paul, and it worked. So none of us ever, it seemed, believed that it would be independent. But I have to say, I'm shocked at how quickly it's gone to they're not even hiding it. Let me take you to yesterday's tweet. I don't have it to show here, but I'll read it to you. Ring Magazine put out a picture of Gary Jonas, who, of course, is the owner of Pro Box and Purchase Boxing Scene, so he runs that account. Remember, Boxing Scene broke the story about the TKO pay structure with Lance Pugmire.
That was not a negative. Also, who was mad about that? It's not a negative story.
I don't think it was negative
good reporting. Either. It was like, if anything, it made me more hopeful for this product. But that's probably because it seems like it might have lesser ambitions than a full hostile takeover of the sport of boxing. In any case, that was not a negative story.
Well, let me read the tweet here. It says, this is a Ring Magazine tweet. Turki Alalshikh responds to a circulating article regarding the TKO League. Quote, this article is not factually accurate. I think Gary Jonas should focus on his business in Florida because he doesn't want the FTC to call him again. I am wondering, what is the structure of his business model with the rehab facilities and boxing? End quote. People have come back at me taking issue with it and saying, well, isn't Boxing Scene the voice of Gary Jonas? And I'm like, well, yeah, to some degree in terms of profiling pro box fighters and fights, but it's not like, at least I don't think, they've been using Pro Box, or they're using Boxing Scene to execute Gary Jonas's editorial plan. So Turkey's saying that not only is the report false, it seemed to be that he's intimating, and maybe I'm reaching, but it seemed to me that he's intimating that it was Jonas himself who leaked the contracts to his writer. I'm not sure. But isn't that like a veiled threat there? Basically, like if you keep reporting our news when we don't want it, it would be, it'd be funny if the FTC went after you again. Like, to me,
so did the FTC go after him in the past?
I don't know, but I think we all have to assume. I always put, just like when we're talking about baseball or any sport, I always say, look, we have to assume everybody's on PEDs. I assume that every boxing and MMA promotion is a money laundering scheme that could be investigated, right? You just have to sort of on basis assume that in this sport. But this feels like out of bounds, next level, an abuse of the Ring. And are you threatening a rival website because they reported something about you? Like, what is really happening here? Does this guy just have such thin skin that this is how we're going to operate moving forward?
Well, I would assume that, yes, he does have such thin skin, being that he is Saudi royalty and has, sort of been around servants his entire life. He's probably not really someone who is used to having people stand up to him, and probably does not like it. It is possible that some of the details don't actually end up being true, because this is all preliminary. It's not like the whatever was in the contracts that also we don't know exact, like the wording was not particularly clear in the story, and that's not really a drawback of it, but like the reporter saw some contracts, but I don't know that he saw every contract that he reported on. He may have seen one contract and then heard details, reported on details with some of the people in the business, the other sources he spoke to, who described what they saw in other contracts to him.
Sure.
So it is possible. While I don't. Lance would not fabricate anything. I've worked with him. I like, he has he's from the LA Times to the Athletic to now Boxing Scene. I would not question, his journalistic ethics. His boxing journalistic. I mean, boxing ethics are not exactly journalistic ethics, but as a boxing journalist, he's about as straight as you could get. And it's just, so is it possible that one of the lawyers has an agenda and was misrepresenting something? Yes, that is possible. But that again, if this is not true, if Turkey via the ring wants to dispute it, one way they could clear it up is to be a little bit more clear and say, well, this is what we're looking at. And that's their prerogative not to do that. But I wouldn't believe anything they say until they, especially if they didn't say. I might not believe it if they did say it, but they're not saying it. So I'm gonna believe the reporter who has this good record and works with a bunch of journalists who all take the job more seriously than most of us ever. I mean, these are like the last true believers in boxing journalism almost over there.
I mean, to try to sit here and act like that combat sports journalism in general isn't constantly corrupted or manipulated.
It's all SponCon. It wouldn't exist if it was not sponsored by somebody, because it doesn't make its own money.
Plus, in recent years, so many entities are tied directly to certain promotions and networks by association, right? I write for CBS Sports, which used to be a sister of Showtime. So like, you get that whole point. It's why I'm saying up front, yeah, Jonas owns Boxing Scene. It definitely made some changes, but what we've seen out of the ring in Turkey's behavior, I get he's not used to losing or being told no. And yes, we can produce a lot of scary stories like that Egyptian guy who publicly criticized the attempt of Saudi to take over soccer. And then when he appeared in Saudi Arabia, they jailed him for 19 years for that tweet. Like, I know that when Turkey first got here, I even did a lot of the same thing that other people did. We're like, yeah, it's sketchy, but he's going to make the biggest fights. The mob used to run boxing. Don King was sketchy as shit in every lane and every time. So was so many other people. But I've never felt like there's less people willing to actually report news and be truthful. And if now the largest journalistic entity is not only owned by Turkey, it's his mouthpiece to carry out his grudges.
Largest journalistic entity? Are we serious here?
Well, in terms of like that are putting that much money and resources and signing a lot of big names, right? I mean, what else we got out there these days?
I mean, I guess to me, whether ESPN is always the biggest, just because it's ESPN, even though they like we worked there. Boxing is not a priority, even with the top ranked deal. I don't think it ever really became a priority.
But to be fair, all of Kop's tweets and reporting coverage has been, and this is his prerogative, but it's been toward the idea that TKO is good for boxing and this will fix all of our issues.
Yeah, well, look, I'm just saying what is the biggest. All right, I'm not saying anything else. I guess the ring, it isn't what it used to be, and I don't even know what are they producing now. Did the magazine actually relaunch yet?
I don't know that.
No. What is other than some tweets? Like, what is really? I haven't really seen.
They have a website. They have a fight.
Jake Donovan is not going to be there that long. I heard, right? I don't even know.
I don't know.
I know that some junk I read on Twitter.
Yeah, I think Keith Addick's going there full time or whatever. Or
that I did hear. Yeah, I mean that's serious.
I mean, look, there's people that work there that I get along with and talk to and really enjoy. It's not me against them. It's me against how quickly this journalistic entity that I'm not going to act like it was sacred in recent years. It was bought by Golden Boy and kind of was a Golden Boy mouthpiece for a while. But this is like next level mouthpiecing, right?
Yeah, it is gross. It's sleazy. Turkey is doing sleazy things with a magazine that really matters to some people, that has an important history that we all respect as boxing fans, even if we're not we're not all collectors of, or like jerking off to Nat Fleischer somewhere. but it's still, it does matter. It's not fun to see. I can't say that that's high on my list of objections. I think, but in things that, I don't know, annoy me about the sport, but it's a crappy thing to do.
It's weird, man. It's getting really weird.
When did boxing get full of so many jerks, man? It used to be such a sweet sport.
And I guess there was always, yeah, you're right. It was always crooks and jerks, but I mean, that's my fear of the monopolistic takeover, because I go through that covering UFC. They've pushed the media away, unless you're a sycophant that, shows up and doesn't rock the boat. We're going to get to the point where you can't ask questions and like, do we want everything under one promotion and one league and one tree in that regard? I don't know. Like I'm getting a lot of weird feels right here, but that's me. We'll see what happens with this TKO thing. I wanted to get to a couple other quick things before we find out whether you care. One quick thing is, you see the Teofimo Lopez podcast interview where he's revealing that relationship where he was going to bring him and his dad to Team Canelo and be trained by Eddie Reynoso, that he kind of got told to leave. Now, I don't know if he got fired from the gym, or if it coincides with the fact that Teo's fighting on Friday, May 2nd, when Canelo's fighting the next day in Saudi, which is the reason why, by the way, that Ryan Garcia will not be trained by Eddie Reynoso. He'll be trained by his father, Henry, for this Rolly fight. Do you think there's anything more, given Teo's obnoxious racism of late? I mean, in just trying everything to stay in the headlines?
I would personally be surprised if this was some decision made on a moral principle, like Eddie Reynoso is like, you've gone too far, sir. I will not let a person of such low character inside my gymnasium. It's hard to believe that they're paying attention, that they're that online. I mean, they're online in the sense that everyone in boxing beefs and bitches about each other online. Is Canelo and Eddie Reynoso? Maybe it's Chepo. Maybe Chepo is there cooking up the beef, and he's like, no. I will not serve him my torta. No soup for you. I don't look. Is it? I just don't see that being the case, or them being like shaking their head like, man, did you see Teo on the, talking to Cameron? He was way out of line. Or, man, did you see Teo when he was hanging out with Andrew Tate? Like, that's pretty scummy, isn't it? Like, it's hard to. I just don't think that's the case. The simplest explanation seems like the right one to me, which is that Eddie can't be in his corner for this fight. Like, he's going to be with Canelo in another country. They're fighting in Saudi Arabia the day after the New York fight. So they probably said, look, it doesn't make sense for this one. And Teo was sort of sending out some mixed messages in that interview. He's a little hard to read. He was both saying, no, it's no big, it's not the end of the world. I'd love to work with them again. I learn a lot with them. But then also being, well, I'm disappointed it didn't work out. I don't know. Maybe they thought I wasn't focused enough. It's hard to read him. I guess to me, the simple explanation tracks here, which is just like, dude, we can't be with you in the ring. Go, don't train with us this camp. And we'll see. I guess over time, we'll see if they get back together. I think it's weird that Ryan Garcia is going to go train out there and then not have him in the corner like that.
I know.
That doesn't seem like a good plan either.
And we're going to get to Ryan in 30 seconds, but he basically said hey, it's Rollies. He calls Rolly Romero Rollies all the time, which always makes me laugh. He's like, it's just Rollies. It's not going to be a problem. My dad will be fine, whatever. Real quick, back to the other conversation. Enigma Crunch saying nobody reports positive on the UFC. It's not a surprise that they push the media away. Even though I'm not a hardcore stand on the corner and support journalism's not supposed to be about positive or negative reporting. It's about reporting. It's about, you know what I mean? So you can't come with that. Well, if they're not going to be positive, we can't have them in the building. Like, come on. I mean, I know that for years, boxing promotions have banned certain writers when they're in beefs and all that. I get all that, but come on. Well, it is different.
What are the days of honor and respect when if you had a problem with a reporter, you just troll him by sending a ton of Chinese food to his home in Virginia because he wouldn't make the trip to Macau to cover a Manny Pacquiao fight, and then you'd make mean comments about his weight to the rest of the media.
Wow. Yeah. What are the days when Michael Katz and Ron Borges would just fight on press row? You know what I mean? Just have it out right there. There you go. All right, let's get into Ryan Garcia. So it's an interesting topic because he pulled a lot of shit last year. He had a crazy year. Suspended after the upset win over Haney for 1 full year for testing positive for Ostarine. Started the year with his wife divorcing him a week after their child was born. His mom had a cancer report in June that seemed to put him over the rails, and that led to that wild arrest over the summer when he caused $15,000 of damage at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. And there was the daily racism, and there was the daily Twitter spaces talking about conspiracies and child trafficking.
Man, yeah, that was wild.
I mean, dude, it was as weird of a year as possible. But he did sit down at length with Akin Barak, who now hosts the show Ring Champs, which, full disclosure, is part of the All the Smoke Fight Network, which Morning Combat is. We're all in the same family. And even though Ryan has spoken a little bit at the 2 press conferences for this Rolly Romero fight about the sudden turn in his life, we don't know if he's going to therapy or taking meds or how serious the turn is, but he's definitely calm, relaxed, and talking about doing this clean and getting back on track and saving his career. But the reveals were pretty interesting in this Akin Barak sit down, which was filmed a week ago, where Ryan's now saying he was drinking the entire fight week as we thought for the Haney fight, even the day of. He also was on shrooms the day that he trashed that hotel, and it was the threat of losing his custody of his 3 kids after that started him getting sobered up and kind of getting back to normal.
I have a question about that. How much custody is he allowed? Does he mean visitation? There's no way those kids are allowed to live with his ass.
I don't think they live with him, but I think it was like visitation. Because he was crazy that day, and didn't he like accost his ex-wife? I don't know. There was factors with that. Okay, there was a lot of factors going on. And as Chu Chengs would say, 15 grand of damage at the Waldorf could have been a mirror, right? It could have been, you could have lost your room key, and they gave you that. But here's the deal, Rafe.
It took one too many towels, Ryan.
Yeah. Here's the deal. I'm not trying to say that this guy's a saint and we should all, because he's admitting to mental health issues and drug use and now saying he's cleaning it up, that like everything's good, go Rye guy. But he is one of the biggest stars in the sport. He wants to fight the best every single time. He wants to go from Rolly to Devin to either Teo or Boots after that. And it does seem like he's back in a headspace where he can go for it again. What'd you read from that, from the clips you saw of that interview, and whether we're going to see like legitimate change here from somebody who nearly lost it all last year?
I mean, he sounds good. He sounds, he sounds like he's thinking straight and taking things seriously. I also think that he is, he's a smart guy in general, at least in terms of his public appearance and how he, like he can turn it on and act right when he needs to. I think the proof, he has to prove it over time. And that's part of his personal journey and battles. It's also, he also may have it all. He might be, all sorted out right now and ready to go, but we have to see it before we believe it. There's nothing there. I didn't think there were a lot of red flags, and I didn't see any thing really concerning in terms of
one red flag
where his head. Okay.
He looks back at the drug test failure to Haney and says, I'm not a steroid user. I never took Ostarine. It wasn't a tainted supplement thing. He's blaming the New York State Athletic Commission and the Haney family for having foul play and planting a false test, and says the fact that Haney's brother tweeted the next day after the fight that Ryan is going to fail for steroids, and then he failed the next day. And because Devin was ready to go on SportsCenter with the sad, face, he believes he's been fully set up. And in his mind, that was the justification for going crazy, even though he was crazy before that fight, let's be fair, because they took away something he had earned. I don't know.
He's full of shit. I don't know. Compared to the red flags of trashing your hotel room on shrooms, guzzling beer at the club in fight week, ranting about, fighting child traffickers in the street, compared to his glory days of red flag fuckery. Yes, I was disappointed that he is not taking that he is not taking like responsibility. He's and not really like showing much accountability for what he did, which is take a banned substance somehow. He put it, it ended up in his body, and he, and he is ultimately responsible for that in a sport where it's very important because it's a combat sport. It's disappointing. I still think it's not that, like, we see a lot of fighters who we don't view as completely off the rails act a little bit delusional or defiant about the times that they obviously got caught cheating.
Or they lost. Loma, remember when Loma blamed everyone for cheating him against Teo?
That did Loma?
Yeah, I thought
that's right. Yeah. Yes,
right?
yes, he did.
Or was it the Loma Haney fight? Which fight was it? He came. He had like really bad excuses after. I think it was the Loma Teo fight. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I mean, even guys who didn't do the cheating, like when Triple G was talking about the injection marks that he saw on Canelo, we see fighters do this all the time. I think it would be, would I like it more if Ryan Garcia took a little more responsibility over this? It's possible that he didn't know that he took it, right? It could have been a supplement that someone gave him, or a shake that someone gave him, or he was getting a rub down with some creams and it got in his system.
Get on top.
It could have been. Unless he can find a way to get out with the Ginny Fuchs exception. I think it's his fault that this happened. And so yeah, that's disappointing. I don't consider it a full red flag. Also, it's just he's bullshit. Like, I heard that and I'm like, okay, bullshit. Like, that's all it is.
People are defending him here. I want to shout out Arturo, who I believe in here, says I think it was 1/1000th of a small amount of
it was a trace amount. I think that is correct.
And also, somebody else came in here and got his back. Where was that one? Here we go. Michael Beal. I don't know if he works for He literally could not have taken even a fraction of a dose of Ostarine given the minuscule tested level and the timeline of clean tests. 100% impossible. It actually was sabotage. Now, Ryan is saying he passed every single other test. I don't know, dude. But boxing is full of shit. I used to love this sport. The key part is he got the win. They took it away.
No, he didn't. Yeah.
He felt like they took away the thing he'd been chasing his whole career. But I have to say, like, this opened our eyes to how good he actually could be. He also was crazy that week and on, all different substances and stuff. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think he blows away Rolly? You think he gets in trouble?
Look, if he fights well, if he has a good accounting of himself, I think he does blow away Rolly. I think he catches him with something coming in the same way, what's his name? Like he did to Duno back in the day, or some of those early, like Fonseca. Like, it could be a highlight knockout for him. It also, but I am not ready to trust in the consistency of Ryan Garcia quite yet. And
I'm with you.
Rolly can be awkward and Rolly can be dangerous. So I'm hoping, I think that there's a chance of a surprise. I think in all likelihood, this is, Rolly hasn't been on a great run himself. Rollies, as we should say.
Yes.
Rollies has not been on a great run himself after losing to Pitbull Cruz.
But he said he was in the wrong weight classes for all those fights. So,
well, we've heard that before. It's usually that's usually not. It usually turns out that you weren't as good as you were hyped up to be, or you are now washed when fighters roll out that excuse. But we will see what Rollies rolls out with on May 2nd.
And Alan W., thank you for chiming in. It will look like Oscar versus Mayorga. It might. One thing to consider, though, Ryan does admit that when they sparred, that famous sparring video from when Ryan was 17, that Rolly did beat him up and light him up and just jumped all over him in that Mayweather gym doghouse sparring session, for what that's worth. Okay.
Fantastic.
Oscar Mayorga was the second to last time I celebrated someone winning a fight by jumping up and down on my couch and dancing in circles. Can you name the most recent time?
The most recent time, Jason Litzau.
Yes, Caballero. Yes, I couldn't believe it. Yes, all right. Woo! A lot of people in the comments, by the way, believing Ryan was framed. That is interesting.
He does have a lot of followers on social media.
Yeah, it's hard to look past a lot of the shit he did last year. I want him to be safe and healthy, of course. We'll see. This could be an interesting fight card May 2nd. Rafa,
Mm.
let's get into what's coming ahead this weekend. Do you care in general?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, you're working it?
I'm working it
I
Saturday
care.
night.
Yeah, I care.
Okay.
Doing the
Thank you.
bull dance.
Doing
Feeling
the bull
flow.
dance.
Working.
Let's hit the weekend that is coming to us. We got some Cambosos. We got some what's her name? Eddie's girl. We got a lot going on. Let's start.
Talking about Eddie's girl.
Yeah. Where can I find a woman like in
Is that
Australia?
Sky?
Yeah, Sky Nicholson. We're gonna start Saturday, Las Vegas, 8 p.m. Eastern, Prime Video. Even if you are not a subscriber, I believe. Am I wrong? I should probably know this. I believe you can watch this. No, you can watch the pay-per-view prelims for free if you're not a subscriber. I believe this is for subscribers only on Prime Video this weekend. It's a triple header, PBC, the Mandalay Bay, the what is that? Michelob Light Arena, which did produce, by the way, Corrales Castillo won. Right? Shout out to that. Were you at Cotto Canelo? I know you were at that.
Yeah, I was. It was a good
Do you
fight.
remember when they did that really loud noise before that Hispanic guy came out to sing the national anthem, and it was like they blew out the speakers for Cotto's entrance? You remember that?
No, I forget that part.
It was one of the most painful moments of my life. Let's hit it right off the top. Sebastian Fundora owns 2 of 4 world titles at 154 pounds, the WBC and the WBO. He took it in the upset victory over Tim Tszyu 1 year ago, but he's been off for almost that full 1 year, coming back against the much shorter but the slickster from Stamford, Connecticut, Cordell Booker. It is the main event of this triple header. The face-off pictures between them, as usual, for Fundora, who is, they say for 6'6", he stood about, more or less. This is going to be a big size difference. The thing I really like about this fight is that even though Fundora is currently the power player at 154, he has 2 of 4 belts. I don't think he would have beaten Tszyu if there wasn't for that nasty cut in that fight. I think that there's still a lot of questions about how good Fundora is, even though he's willing to brawl. He's got a great chin. He'll go there with you, as he did with Erickson Lubin in that breakthrough win. I feel like any fighter is going to have a potential chance against Fundora if they can handle the smoke and move around him. He's a minus 700 betting favorite. What are your thoughts coming into this matchup, Fundora versus Booker?
I agree that he's got to be one of the weaker unified champions in recent history, maybe of all boxing history. Like he's got 2 belts and we're like, really? Like, should he even be a champion? But he's fun. All right. His height is weird. He doesn't use it at all in the ring. He's made some that fight with Erickson Lubin was fantastic. I'm going to enjoy it. I know I've seen Cordell Booker fights, but I can't remember any of them. So it makes sense that Fundora is a favorite here, but we've he makes mistakes. He will mix it up with you. You will have a chance to hit him on exchanges. If we've seen, while he does have a great chin, and he, that those chins get weaker over time in some cases. We have seen him knocked out. Brian Mendoza in that first upset loss of his. So I wouldn't, I think it'll be a fun fight. Like I'm never mad when I watch the guy. He does. I like that he has this important position, that he's in the mix at 154.
I like Cordell Booker's backstory, having done time, having turned himself around. He's got some early victories over some names we know, like Wally Omatoso, Sonny Duberson.
How old was Wale Omatoso at that time?
It was 27-3 back in 2019. He does have 1 loss in his career, and that was a first-round stoppage at MSG in 2022 against the aforementioned Austin Ammo Williams. He's bounced back, though, with about 6 or 7 wins since then. Brian Chavez in his last fight last June, but last February he beat Greg Vendetti. So there really aren't a ton of huge names on his resume, but if you watch him, he's a slickster, he's southpaw, he's game. This will be interesting. Do you look back at Fundora not fighting for 11 months while he was trying to, I would assume, get Errol Spence in the ring with him as a wasted opportunity?
I don't know if I would go that far to say a wasted opportunity, but I would like to see fighters more active than that. He's young. There isn't a real, it's not like he's in one of the big stars of the sport. It's like, oh, I'm like fighting once a year now. No, I mean, you want to see him be more active than that. I think it seems that the PBC situation of just, trying to figure out its new space in the TV broadcast streaming landscape, that probably played a role here, as well as waiting, hoping that the Errol Spence fight came through. It hasn't yet, so he's getting back in the ring. It's what are you going to do? I hope that he gets more opportunities to fight more often than once every 11 months.
If he gets the win, he's favored to get the win. We'll see what Booker has in this matchup. More Ranallo, Abner Maris, your boy B Sizzle on the call. I think possibly Jordan Plant as well. What's the matchup? Because I still want to see him against Spence, but you've got Jermell, Thurman, Virgil Ortiz, Boachuk, Tim Tszyu. Like, this division is really fun with all kinds of different levels of names, of experience, of former champions, of styles. If Fundora is in a lot of ways, the face or the power player of the division, where would you like to see him go from here?
Well, I mean, if the Spence fight comes together, I'm sure that'd be a good payday for Fundora. It would make sense for Spence, as a come to see what Spence is still kind of, going to continue his career after this point, and what kind of fighter he will be for the rest of that career if he does come back against Fundora. And yeah, so that would be great if it happens. I think it also would make sense since they're both connected with PBC, if the little the plans to have Keith Thurman and Tim Tszyu fight, if Tszyu gets through whoever the hell he's supposed
Joey
to fight.
Joey Spencer, April 5th.
Oh, that's right, my boy. Shout out to
Catch
Michigan.
that on Prime Video. Yes.
Yeah. So if Tim Tszyu wins that comeback fight against Spencer and ends up fighting Keith Thurman, the winner of that would make sense since it's all in the PBC family. Virgil Ortiz, if he somehow gets in the mix with that, is perfect for also makes great fights against any of these guys. It's a fun division right now. It's weird how a couple of good fights all of a sudden make the whole thing come to life, and you're like, you start seeing all these possibilities, fun matchups throughout. So it makes me really hopeful that they can keep these guys busy, because there's a lot to build to for them.
Nader did point out that Fundora did break his nose in that bloody war with Tszyu and did need time. I know that was part of it. So, of course, was waiting out Spence, who kept pushing off his timeline. And then I think ultimately he wasn't cleared by one of the sanctioning bodies to fight for the title.
He got a wonky eye too.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, he does. Speaking of potential opponents for Fundora, we also have to look at that co-main event. Originally, Kevin Salgado was the opponent for one Jesus Ramos Jr., who just beat up Banana Rosario and probably sent him back to retirement just in the last pay-per-view. He's going to come back against a fellow by the name of Guido Emmanuel Schramm, who I called his ShoBox debut a couple of years back. Good fighter. But if Jesus Ramos gets past this, he's already this week called out both Thurman and Fundora. How much have you seen of Jesus? Do you think he can be a player here? He did have that close but disputed decision loss to Erickson Lubin, and Lubin will have a pro box bout against Adriel Holmes, the unbeaten fighter. That's a good fight. I know he wants to get in there against Fundora. Do you think Ramos could be a threat one day for the Towering Inferno?
I haven't paid that much attention to Ramos since he was a prospect. He looked pretty good then, but it was hard to know what to make of all that. It seems like he keeps winning. He comes from the Abel Ramos boxing family. I guess he's the chosen one of that, or the one who seems to have the most breakout talent. If he wins this fight, and why not? Like, let him step up and compete against the top level fighters at 154, whether it's for belts or the rest of the top 10 type talent. Like, let's see what I think. Will he be a factor in the division? Yeah, why not? Because outside, I guess, while I'm excited about the fights that they could make with them, none of them seems like they're at a point in their respective careers where they are like just absolute monsters, world beaters. Maybe Virgil Ortiz is getting there. He's the one who seems like he has that that sort of, I would probably rank, other than, I don't know where we put Bud Crawford in this, if he's even, we just kind of assume he's fighting Canelo and then retiring.
Yeah, he's
out. But you do sort of, I want to respect him a little bit, just because, even though he's only had one fight at 154 pounds and it wasn't the best he's ever looked, you probably still just automatically pencil him in as the best in the division at the moment. But he's also not going to be in the picture very long. So Virgil Ortiz is the one who stands out to me in the mix right now.
I agree.
And the rest of them, good fights can be made. But like, am I going to sit here and say Keith Thurman is back to near sort of, back end of the top pound for pound, top 10 level that he might have been at his absolute peak? I don't know if I ever actually ranked him, but he would, he could have been in that mix once upon a time.
I wonder if Tim Tszyu will get back in there. I mean, he's got to beat Spencer, he's got to beat Thurman, but I wonder if
another guy, Murtazaliev. I mean, not nobody.
He's got a belt. Yeah, he's got a belt. Madrimov, obviously, as well, even though he's coming off of 2 defeats. But Virgil Ortiz took a major step up. Let's see if Sergio Ramos can add his Jesus Ramos Jr. can add his name in there. The opener, by the way, will be a 10-round middleweight tilt, as young 21-year-old Elijah Garcia, who got upset by Kyron Davis, will continue his comeback. Now, Bob Santos in his corner as he welcomes the veteran former Olympian Terrell Gaucher. Do you care about one non-televised undercard bout? 5-0 Robert Guerrero Jr., trained by Ruben, is going to have a 4-round lightweight bout. Do you care about this?
You say Ruben Guerrero, and yes, I care. Shout out to the Gilmore Garlic Festival, not the year that it got shot up, but the year before when I went. Great time. Love Gilroy. Love the garlic ice cream. Garlic all over the place, and lots of CrossFit with Robert Guerrero Sr. now.
Yes, and he'll bring a gun on an airplane if you ask him nicely there. Pre-Nepal, Thurman was a different fighter. There was a push and tug, a tugging kind of there you go. Tug and war of kindness. Indeed, right there. All right, Rafe, let's find out whether you care about the rest of the box. Saturday, Sydney, Australia, down under. Main event, George Kambosos Jr., the opportunistic, Lou DiBella promoted fighter, former upsetter of Teofimo Lopez, and the man at 135 will take on a fella called Jake Wiley, 12 rounds junior welterweights. The plan, it seems, is for Campbell, although he's calling out Tank Davis, to, if he wins, get Richardson Hitchens for a 140 belt, now that Teofimo is looking at other plans. Where are you right now on the George Kambosos Jr. experience?
Is Kambosos moving up to 140 for this fight?
This fight will be a junior welterweight contest.
Oh yeah, yes. So all right. So he wasn't very big or powerful for lightweight. I don't see how going to junior welter is going to help him. But I guess it's a fresh division. He can sort of he can tell the same story. Oh yeah, I'm going to be way stronger now because I don't have to work as hard to cut the weight. Those weight cuts were really draining me. Blah blah blah.
That's what Roman said. Yeah.
Roll it out. Everybody got the same excuse. So look, I hope that Richardson Hitchens doesn't waste his time with that. I hope that I don't see. He's gonna and George Kambosos at a new weight is gonna have to do more than beat. Like, he was supposed to fight Daoud Yordan, and whatever, Yordan got sick or got hurt or something, pulled out. They're putting in Lee Wiley's young brother to replace him. That's great. What is that? How does that earn him a title shot at 140 pounds? There's nothing in it. No, there ain't no. I mean, other than fighting Teo, because there's that unfinished business. He got some more. He got some more work to do before. I care to see him in meaningful fights at a new weight class.
Let's be honest about two things. And I've always respected Kambosos' hustle, chin, willingness, blah blah blah. But that upset was not tainted, but there was a reason for it. If people want to fight him because they look at him as a guy with a certain ceiling of skills that they can beat, but he also brings a certain name and Australian pay-per-view money with him. So
Is he that much of a commercial force? You get that much Aussie pay-per-view money for fighting him?
It was a factor in Haney going to ESPN and being forced to fight him twice. It is a factor in when Tim Tszyu fights with PBC, right? Like it's a factor financially. It really is.
All right, look, that makes sense. Then I don't think of Kambosos as such a huge draw that he gets. He needs to be getting fights that he hasn't really earned at this point. To just because it's worth it for the other guys. And I don't even know. Yeah, he sort of still has a name, but what serious boxing fan is rating that win for Richardson Hitchens or any other top 140 pounder? Was like, oh man, Hitchens looked great against that guy who everybody beat.
He does have that split decision win over the Welsh Mayweather, Lee Selby, who was washed in 2020. Since then,
a career featherweight. Come on, man.
Yeah, that was at 135. Since then, of course, you have the upset of Teo, back-to-back decision losses to Haney, a majority decision win over Maxie Hughes, and then the TKO in round 11 against Lomachenko. He did beat aftermarket Mickey Bay back in 2019 as well. Also on this card, I mean, we know how much you love women's boxing. The co-main event, Sky Nicholson, who does seem to be building a bit of a name, a bit of a star around her. There's also those weird Eddie Hearn rumors. She will be defending her WBC women's featherweight title against Tiara Brown. And I've been watching this build a little bit. Brown's been bringing it in the trash talk face-offs. Will this be enough to get you to watch on Saturday?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay. Do you agree with community service brand that we need to get Glenn Rushton to teach the broken rhythm pressure method to Cambo? Yes.
And by the way, did you see Glenn Rushton working the corner for I think Brock Jarvis when he got said to hail? Or maybe no, it wasn't Jarvis. It was the fight before. It was the co-main. He was in Zarafa's corner. He turned sides. How could he leave? How could he abandon? I mean, I know Jeff Horn is retired, but I thought that bond was thicker than that. You can't be doing it.
Also deep on this undercard, a 6-round heavyweight bout featuring a man named Tera Moana. You like that guy?
Sure, I'm in.
All right. Also Saturday, what's El Cajon, California? Where's that?
El Cajon? It's on the way to Vegas.
It is. Okay.
Cajon Pass.
There's a DAZN card there. Main event, Malik Montgomery, 10 rounds junior lightweights against Jeremy Hill and former Showbox.
Maybe I'm wrong now because I don't remember there being a casino out there. Anyway.
Yeah. Former Showbox alumni Kurt Scobie, the lightweight, and the co-main against Brian Jimenez. I don't think you care about that.
Scobie-Doo.
Also on Saturday, Atlantic City, New Jersey, and guess what? DAZN, dude, they got a lot of bootleg boxing on DAZN. Vlad Panine in the main event will go 10 rounds welterweights against Brian Augustine Aragai. You care about that?
What?
I have a fight against Aragai.
What? Oh no, El Cajon is down near San Diego. Okay, it's closer to our old stomping grounds in Temecula.
That's right.
So that makes a little more sense.
Meet me there. Also Saturday, San Bernardino, California. Pro Box TV and Gary Jonas presents Lester Martinez versus Joshawn James, 10 rounds super middleweights. Do you care?
I don't care. And if that's the kind of shit that TKO is going to be showing us someday, like, I don't know what they're taking over with that.
Anthony Cuba deep on the undercard. He gave Kermel Moten his toughest test to date, going the distance. Off of TV Saturday, Huntington, New York, at the same theater there that Chris Algieri made his name. You're going to see Junior Yunnan against Abel Mina, 10-round super middleweights. You're not yet.
Is Peter Card still training Junior Yunnan?
I don't know that, but I will say
that was their guy.
We need to be on the lookout for this young Italian dude that is being promoted by DSG, Danny Swift Garcia Promotions, and it's his second in the corner is Peter Cards.
Nice. Oh, you know that if he has any extension difficulties, Peter Card's got him covered.
Yes. And Screw You is a big fan of what Rafe brings to the table. He's like the boxing version of hardcore MMA fan who knows when there's bullshit fights happening, which he can miss, and where are the gems. Rafe, it is a service you bring, okay, as a salty hardcore.
I might care a little. I might need to care a little bit more, but I don't.
Dude, Two Chainz reporting that Campbell got a $10 million payday for beating Teo. Remember, that was jacked up for the purse bid. And then he has a chance to make $2 million against Wiley. Really? Guaranteed $750K. Damn.
That's with pay-per-view upside. That's
also to close. Dan Rayfield of Fight Freaks Unite reporting that PBC could be rolling out this Roach Tank 2 rematch June 21st, either at T-Mobile or in Atlanta. Your thoughts? Because the Washington D.C. big sports arena is double booked the whole stretch there. Are you in?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, if they can make that rematch that fast while people are still arguing and heated over what happened the first time around, hell yeah, that's great.
Amazing stuff right there. Alan W is just a phenomenal supporter of athletics and this show.
Hey, Alan, that will last me at least 3 days. Thank you.
I gotta Venmo that to you when I get paid at the end of the month, because
I will spend it all on Coke Zero and take a picture for you all.
Can you please buy generic like fruity soda from the Midwest? You know,
I only buy it once, and I'm telling you, I'm just because I'm trying to save money and I have a serious addiction. I'm usually spending it on, I'm stretching out my dollars. Fago, Kroger soda, baby. Those are the ways to go.
Yes. Well, thank you, Alan, for always getting our back here. Amazing stuff right there. Wow, what a great show, Rafe. I'm really excited about this here box. Okay,
let's get inside, baby.
I
can get inside on it.
I think we're high-fiving.
Get inside on that box.
Will you be back next week to break down the proceedings?
Oh, I will be living in this box. Whenever I'm not even leaving, I'm gonna be here the whole time.
Well, while I can tell you enjoy this weekly reunion with me, are you enjoying being forced to watch fights you normally would skip?
Yeah. No, look, the truth is, whenever I watch boxing, I really enjoy it. In the years, since 2020, when I left the job covering the sport at The Athletic, to between then and our fortuitous reunion here on the BCX, I still watched, huge fights, but missed a lot of important ones and really good ones over the years, mostly because it's like, it's hard to keep up with the platforms.
Yeah.
I know, yes, I am an old lazy bum, but it is nice. Like as an old lazy bum, I kind of want my product to come to me a little bit easier.
Yes.
And it ain't always easy. Like I have methods now that are working, but it's more work that the level, it's the effort more than the time. Because once you get me in front of a fight, I'm locked in. Will
you accept the Russian malware necessary to get to that fight?
There's only one. You got to go through a little bit of Russian anal malware.
Wow. Okay. Do you agree with Arturo here saying Shasta Cola ain't bad for a good cheap Coke?
I agree. It's not on a lot of shelves here, but I did find a gas station liquor store that sells Tropical Fantasies here, though, and that's a big win. That's a huge nostalgic pick for me, because that was my lunch when I didn't have any money at high school. On days when I only had a couple bucks, you go get a 50-cent Tropical Fantasy 20 ounce and they used to sell those cinnamon rollers. You could get a 4-pack for 25 cents of these real bootleg ones. So you get 8 of these like 900 calories of terrible sugar that you thought you were doing something good for yourself because it only cost $1.
Damn. Is your addiction level at the point where you're drinking the equivalent of 6 12-ounce cans per day?
If I let I try not to buy bulk, because if I do, I will drink it all. If I had I would get up to like 18 in a day.
Damn, is your heart just coming out of your chest at that point?
I don't even feel it.
I'm sorry.
I don't feel the caffeine at all.
All right.
At all.
All right.
Like coffee, I will feel it, but I don't really drink coffee. Maybe it's because I don't drink coffee. In any case, I don't allow myself access to large stockpiles. And unfortunately, that means sometimes I have to pay more than I should, because I'm buying little bits at a time. Because if you give me a Costco pallet, I'm knocking that out in 48 hours.
Yes. I got 2 words for you in terms of escalation from this addiction: fish scales. Meet me on the low on the D. Also, you just touch gloves.
You just touch gloves. Why do you need to touch the gloves again? You just touch gloves.
There it is. We'll close by playing this fantastic intro song one more time because I love to hear it. But Rafe Bugs, thank you for your service today. We can follow you on the socials at Rafe Bugs. We can buy your New York Times best-selling books wherever you find fine literature on barnesandnoble.com or some Amazon shit. I don't know. Was that your data earlier, you think?
I think it was my dad. I've told you that my dad loves this stuff. He especially loves your audience, Brian, because they talk so much shit about us. He loves that. So he's like, oh man, did you see that time? You see what that guy wrote about you? He said you look like this. I was like, Dad, I don't see all the comments all the time. I'm glad you're getting the kick out of it. So
okay,
please,
one
everyone
time
keep piling it on because you're making my father happy.
Well, yesterday, don't forget, we not only had you with a surprise appearance on my ridiculously long ramble, we had Saul from a rooftop. Will we ever get Jeff Bart on the show to talk about Triple G Proxa?
On which show? On this or the Ramble?
This show.
Sure, you want to talk? Yeah. I mean,
all right,
I might need to help him set up his laptop situation, but yeah.
Yeah, you may need to get Rick Laser out there to help him figure that out. That's it for this week. Enjoy the show. Enjoy this great intro. Shout out to all the people that worked on it. Mikey Morms, Average Joe Art, Anthony Weller of the band Head Change. We are out of here.